I invested the country where slavery is still legal, bruh. I need to know exactly what country so I can stay it away from there, bruh. But let's go.
This is the United States of America.
Huh? He's here. Oh hell no, bruh.
Slavery is still legal under the 13th
What?
Amendment if you've been convicted of a crime.
You can be
Oh, we're good.
enslaved.
We're good.
If it looks like
They
slavery,
gonna
smells
find
like
you.
slavery,
All right.
sounds like
All right,
slavery, it's slavery.
Turns out, when Abraham Lincoln abolished slavery
Come
by
on,
ratifying
Abe.
the 13th Amendment in 1865, they left in one little exception: convicted criminals.
Locked up. They're gonna slay the to a.
Oh hell no.
Everyone's
Is that Tommy
slave,
G
not
doesn't
just
really
black people,
do teams
everyone.
criminals like Tommy?
And
Oh okay,
refusal
okay.
to work can be met with harsh punishments like solitary confinement, loss of privileges like visitation, phone calls, commissary access, recreation time, family visits, good time credits, and access to books, hygiene products, and snacks. And the prisoners that do make small amounts of money can have up to 80% of their earnings deducted for various prison-related expenses before they see
Prison
any
is
of it,
honestly
while
crazy,
7
bruh.
states pay them nothing. So who benefits off of their labor? And does America have financial upside in locking more and more Americans
Cleopatra was
in
2,000 years
prison
before
and
iPhone
maintain a
appearance,
steady supply of
2,500 years
state-owned
before her.
slaves? More importantly, did
Interesting.
slavery ever end in America, or did it just rebrand itself to something more
Louisiana.
socially acceptable?
Some may not know is almost half of those men and women fighting fires are convicted felons.
Ooh, I heard about that. Like in California, they had like convicted felons out there fighting the fires because they didn't have volunteers or that many volunteers. Then niggas from Mexico flew over to California to put out the fires, and then like a week later, Trump deported like half of them. That's crazy.
It's not money.
Florida sentence. I mean, it's still a good thing to do.
Freedom.
Before I speak up with ex-prisoners who are locked up in Texas, work in the deadly hot fields for their master, Uncle Sam, I went to one of the most
Not master.
incarcerated cities in America to see if they knew that slavery is still legal in America.
You know it's still legal to enslave someone if they commit a crime in the United States of America.
You know what? I think we're all slaves.
Did you know?
Come on, Auntie. Come on, bro. Don't push your white privilege to us. You don't know.
About that exception?
Wow.
Or-
I know that. Yes, I do know that.
Did not know that.
The way the government is going, yeah, I would believe it, yeah.
Does that come as a surprise?
Yes.
Yeah, that surprised me a bit.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
No, I'm not surprised.
That is disturbing.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy, right? No one really thinks about it.
That's weird.
Do you support slavery?
No comment, buddy.
Whoa, huh? No. What do you mean, no comment? I thought that was a clear no. What do you mean, no comment? What? Nah, bro. Someone find this nigga, bro. Teach him a lesson.
Have a great day.
You're in
Like, I'll talk a question, but y'all got mad Islamic people moving to your area? No. Take on your area. You live in a populated city, so that could be why. There's a thing somewhere where criminals have like 2 years some level be taught to fight fires to lower their sentence. Oh, I mean that's still good. Cause like it's a win-win, to be honest.
25, you know, you shouldn't be enslaved. Some bullshit.
Hell no.
Hell no.
No.
No. No. Shouldn't even be a thought in mind, ever.
I'm not saying they should, but it will happen. And if it do, and people don't fight back, that's on them.
Do you think slavery
spitting.
ever ended in America?
No, it's just transformed. It's never changed. It's
Sorry,
always
yeah, that
been
wasn't
way.
racist.
You know the process of how indentured servitude went and then how it formed slavery. You'd understand that this is what's going on now. Just not just black people anymore. So like everyone's slave, not just black.
I mean, technically, indentured servitude isn't slavery because you're getting paid and you can leave at any time, but we're not gonna get into that.
People, not just people of color, it's everyone now, and everyone's starting to feel it.
I think that law should be ratified. It should be changed for sure.
No, it shouldn't be legal to enslave somebody if they commit a crime.
Is there any
Facts.
crime that would warrant whiplashing in the fields, like plantation style?
No, absolutely not.
No matter the
All right,
crime?
bro. Like, let's not be around the bush. Like, maybe murder. Like, murderers can, go back to the old times. Like, killing a nigga for no reason. Come on. I'm gonna leave to see you. Yeah.
No matter.
Even like a child rapist?
Well,
See, niggas like them, they can kind of go.
No one.
This is getting way heavy.
Murder?
Yeah, I mean, those guys.
People cheating on me, catching? No, literally, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Even if you're a heinous criminal who commits a terrible crime?
No, there's no slaves. Shouldn't be any slaves.
I mean, I
Bro,
think all
these
crimes
niggas too
are
nice.
different levels. I mean, you're getting dealt with in there by other inmates. Justice happen on.
Wait, so he should ask if they're fine with the death penalty. Because if they're fine with the death penalty, but not slavery, we got an issue, bro. You're just doing it for the cameras.
Someone whipping and like that. We're going back 100 years or something right there.
The crime and the time should match.
No forced labor.
Okay,
And the
that's fair.
severity of their crime should matter and how much time they get. Like I said, our legal system is jacked up. People are getting more time than they deserve for the small things that are like as much as a gram of weed.
Where I draw the line is that if there's corporations making money on it, like not employing actual people and just using the inmates, then I see a problem.
And then they
No,
can't
he's
keep
spitting.
the job once they get released from prison due to the felony status.
No, see, he's spitting right there. No corporation should use like inmates just so they don't have to pay them. That's actually fucked up.
Times.
Yeah, it's not good.
I feel like the federal prison system is just like recycling black men specifically. Due to like the laws that are being passed, it's hard to make change. The oligarchy that holds the power is making it harder for us to reach the change.
I kind of agree and disagree. Like, it's not that hard to stay out of trouble. I ain't gonna lie, but niggas just do shit because they think they have no other option. So like, I don't really agree with that.
13th and 14th Amendment created two citizenships within the United States. Freed the slaves, that's one citizenship. You're born a United States citizen. You're not under the rule of the United States government that exists today. It is a corporation.
And we're employees to this corporation or what?
You are slavery to that corporation.
Gray, yellow?
You have an income tax. You're a slave under that.
Let's make
Fuck
sure
is Aunt
that we're
yapping
not
about?
putting ourselves in position to become slaves. But when you have predators out there, it's not a choice. The gazelle doesn't choose to get eaten by the lion.
You locked up? They're gonna slay the shit out you.
Do you know anyone who's gotten a felony?
I think forced labor makes sense for the top criminals because it benefits the country. However, I think that private countries benefit from it is a little different. See, that's what I'm saying. Like stuff like I don't know what companies use it, but like let's just say like Walmart, for example, will enslave like use like criminals to like I guess stock stuff in the back, and just so they don't have to pay extra people. That's kind of crazy. You're gonna lower your taxes and you're all for it. Nah, bro, because I don't know. I feel like you should always try to employ people who are seeking a job. You know what I'm saying? Like that'll lower the unemployment rate if they just hire people that actually need a job instead of trying to beat around the bush and save a couple dollars here and there. You know what I'm saying? Like just let the criminals do their time. You don't have to force them to do shit.
One of my best friends, but he trying to shake back. You know, I'm supporting him for that.
Not immediate family, but I know somebody who has people who got like long sentences for very, very minimal things.
How has that affected their life?
Forever.
Forever?
Forever.
Yeah, again, a felony would dead ass ruin your life sometimes.
I headed over to Gatesville, Texas, home to 5 out of the 9 women's prisons and jails in Texas, to meet up with Marcy Simmons, who spent 10 years working the fields out here after stealing $300,000 from her employer. As I was getting B-roll of one of these women's prisons before the interview, a perfect example of the overcriminalization of Americans unfolded before my very eyes.
No, sir, this is private property. You're on state property right now.
This is
No, sir, you
state
are on
property?
private property of the state of Texas.
They try to get a rise out of you.
Is a prison private property or am I tripping? Seeing her on mug shotties? Oh hell no! Why do you know that?
No, we're genuine confusion.
As I filmed the outside of a prison funded by the tax dollars of Americans in a public parking lot, filming that which was in plain view, I quickly learned as to how little we really know about what goes on inside the prison walls.
So we're trying to get some B-roll on the outside of the prison. Are we within our legal First Amendment rights to film on the outside of the prison?
Yeah, no, a prison is not considered private property. I knew I wasn't bullshitting. I'm like, I don't think that's private property.
Property is part of public
No,
property.
no. The public property is over there behind that stop sign.
State property is still part of public property as long as it's publicly accessible land.
Yeah.
Yes, man. Can you 25 me at Valley? I have 2 guys that are refusing to leave.
Can so arrested seeing camera through his
Well,
okay, bro.
refusing
I guess he can do that.
Actual line itself.
We're not gonna argue.
This is
They gonna do a
constitutionally
fucking
protected
cavity
ability
search on
to
that
film
nigga.
the exterior of the prison,
Y'all
right?
have the right to, to record and all that.
Yeah.
But not on state property, on the other side of that stop sign.
That's unconstitutional.
State property is
Okay,
still public land.
what
Yeah.
business do y'all have on this state property right now?
First Amendment, expression, journalism.
Do y'all have an appointment?
No, we don't have an appointment, but we're not trying to come on the inside of the premises. We're on the outside, no?
'Cause y'all too close to the gate.
I guess they're too close.
We don't know who y'all are.
We're not trying to get a rise out of anyone. We prefer if you're out of the shop.
No. We're not gonna be doing that, man. Hey.
Well, once again, we're...
Show them the privacy, man.
Wait,
Show them
what?
respect, man.
Like Texas separate from the U.S. already? That's what I'm saying, bro. That's under the Constitution. Exactly.
That's my whole thing.
You're misunderstanding.
Like this is what I'm talking about. Like niggas be taking their job way too serious, bro. way too. He is not getting paid enough to be acting like this. He does not care about his job enough to be acting like this. Like, come on, bro.
The whole point. We're trying to get some B-roll on the outside of the prison. Officer Cruz here, I guess, is setting the example for the lack of transparency and the ability for any journalists to gain access and understand what's even happening inside here. Yes.
You cannot be on the premises filming. You don't have authorization. So I'm going to...
It's public property.
Sir, I'm going to have to ask y'all to leave. You can't be here filming, okay?
But it's public property.
What we're trying to understand is if you're just making this up or if we're actually in violation of some Texas Penal Code.
I'm not going to answer your rules.
She can't answer because she don't know. Texas education, by the way.
Your questions, your questions, I'm just telling y'all that y'all need to leave, okay? Sir, please put your phone down.
I would suggest you don't touch my property.
I'm not touching you, man. You don't have authorization to be recorded.
They're sitting on the floor.
Aircraft have seats in the prison truck or they're actually shipped like cattle.
What? No, that's actually crazy that they are.
Trying to get some B-roll of the
Why is the sheriff in a suit and tie, a cowboy hat, bro? Bro, Texas is so stereotypical, bro.
From our understanding,
They ain't got the mustache too. Of course, that's their sheriff.
And if they ask you to leave, you need to leave. I need your license and your driver's license.
Okay, yes,
If a nigga pulls me over in a suit and tie, I'm fearing for my life, bro.
I need your driver's license, and I need it now, please.
It's a colonel.
That houses very violent criminals. We have killers, rapists, murderers. We have everything in here.
Sure.
And they have family members in the world that will come out here and play the same card.
Yeah.
And when we have
What does that have to do with you recording? How's that gonna affect anyone?
people here, we don't know who you are.
I see. Okay.
So why would you come here to mess with these people?
We're not here to mess with
He didn't mess with nobody.
That's exactly what's happening. Disrupting their operations.
So we are in violation of Texas Penal Code? Is that what you're saying?
All I'm asking you to do is leave.
So are we violating Texas
So
Penal
what I
Code?
want you to do is get in your car.
They can't answer the.
All
Oh
I'm
my
asking
gosh,
is, are we
bro.
in violation of Texas Penal
One
Code?
more time for you to get in your car and leave.
He pulling and bringing something. That's what I'm saying, bro.
I'm confused. We saw the prisoners a bunch.
There's no way he's dead ass, bro. He could not answer the question because niggas just don't know shit. And he has a gun and a badge. He don't know shit. He's the sheriff, bro. How do you not know your laws? Damn, 109-79 Pacers versus Cleveland. Yikes. Anyways.
Bunch of convicted felons in a van being shipped in and out of the prison. You just experienced the wrath of a small Texas town. Big hat, no cattle, quite literally. Zero transparency. The sheriff of the town himself showed up within 5 minutes and big dogged us. But we have 5 cop cars coming, bruh.
The same people
Damn.
that are elected to protect.
Why are they being followed when they finally left? They're still being followed? Bro, America's so fucked. Pacers murking them knowing God they are.
The Constitution and to uphold the Constitution and serve the public are utilizing that against you.
My guess is they're not supposed to be shuttling prisoners in and out of that freely without chains and all that. It was a publicly accessible parking lot. There's no gates. There's no signs. Just drive up there 50 feet away. I bet you a lot of things can go missing or a lot of abuses can go unnoticed out here in these small towns.
Oh, 100%.
After nearly getting arrested myself for filming these prison walls in plain view to understand what really goes on inside of them.
Hold up.
For filming these prison walls in plain view to understand what really
Oh God, she can ruin my life.
goes on inside of them, let me introduce you to someone who lived there. I'm here with Marcy, formerly
Hi,
incarcerated
Marcy.
for how many years?
I was locked up for 10 years here in Gatesville for
Yeah, I
a
know.
theft charge.
I also want you to meet
10 years for theft.
Prison 3 different times, and I
Yeah.
was an addict, and I didn't have the money.
She did a first-degree murder.
Target fast food
Hey,
joints,
man,
and I would
I'm
wait till
willing
they
to take that
closed, and
chance.
I would throw down on whoever was taking the trash out, and I'd walk them back inside. And more often than not, they had the safe open, and they would give me the money, and I'd leave.
Yeah.
I did 27 total. I was an addict. So I got out the army at right at 19. I'm in South Texas at a
This
dance
nigga's
to
a
see
full
girlfriend.
crook.
I leave the dance. I've been drinking. I get pulled over, so I get a little mouthy with the cops. He didn't like it. He took me to a jail. He puts me in a tank of men who'd been convicted and were awaiting transfer to prison. And I found out later he told them to take care of it. I was beaten. I was raped pretty well all night. Kicked out the next morning and said go home.
So you're beaten and raped.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
And where are we right now?
He just said that casually, like that's just a normal occurrence. Like, brother, you need therapy. Bro, this system's so fucked, bro. Boys, never
We
get
are
arrested.
in one of the fields, and I think that there's actually, this was potatoes here that I used to work at.
Oh,
I
in
worked
prison?
out here
Shit,
in the
enough
fields
for
just
me,
about
bro.
my entire
My
incarceration.
ass is safe.
10 years straight, how many hours a day did you work and how much were you paid per hour?
So in Texas, incarcerated folks are paid $0 an hour.
That's slavery.
And
That's
Are
dead
you
ass
forced
slavery.
To work in the fields
Yeah, you absolutely have to work. I'm not really against people working, but I'm against people doing kind of needless work. Yeah, day one you get here and they assign you a job, and the next morning you get up and go to work. So day two in Big Girl Prison, right here on the Dr. Lane Murray unit, I was out in the fields. And so what that looks like is you're strip searched
Yeah, this
before
is
going to
dead
work.
ass slavery,
They'll
bro.
say like 3 hoe because, side note, it's called the hoe squad. Yeah, the hoe.
In the dirt, or you're a hoe?
Well, I'm sure they
Okay,
mean
Maddie.
hoe in the dirt, but of course it was used derogatory, like hoes line up, hoes get over here. It was really degrading.
So it's dehumanizing from the get-go.
For sure, 100%. You hike to a field, and you've got officers on horseback. They're armed.
On a horseback
they're
is crazy,
shouting
bro.
directives at you. Day two in prison, you don't know what the hell's going on. You're scared. It's really nerve-wracking. You get out here, and if it's August, it's 105 degrees out here in Texas, and it's not air
105.
conditioned in the dorm, and so you're already weak. And if you've been in
God,
county jail and the air conditioning, you're really weak because of the heat, and you're out here doing field
Like a
labor,
blast, man. I
which
gotta
is
get locked
really
up with the
similar
homies.
to plantation
Come on, bro. You pale as shit. You're not surviving a week doing yard work like that. Come on, bro.
work. Any old plantation movie that you might have seen, that's what this kind of work looked like.
People used to cut their tendons so as to not go out to work in the fields. I got
Damn.
taken from a nice AC job working in a hospital to the fields because I would not falsify documentation showing, backing up their allegations.
Beating up some dude, right?
Yeah, and they'll do that all the time for much minor
Nigga worked
stuff.
in the
I was
hospital and
put
he
in
was
the
still
fields for a lot
stealing
of
stuff
I got
out
put
of
in the
safe.
fields because I mouthed off at the guard one time because I stepped on the yellow line in the hallway. So they went ahead and put me back in the fields.
Do you guys have any rights as a prisoner?
If a cop rolls up right now and tells you to get down on the ground, I mean, what rights do you have? You do it to get shot.
And this is Bianca
Fair.
Tylek, a Harvard-educated leading expert in the prison industry and founder of the nonprofit Worth Rises, working to dismantle the prison industry and the exploitation of those it touches. But real quick, have you ever gotten in a car crash that wasn't your fault or
No.
gotten hurt at work? Your injury
No.
could be worth millions. If you become Morgan & Morgan's clients, they'll fight to
This nigga got sponsored by Morgan & Morgan? What the fuck?
get you the compensation that you deserve.
I didn't even know they was throwing out sponsors out here.
Law firm, they're ready to take on insurance companies of
Alright,
every
what?
size. All law firms are not the same, and Morgan & Morgan is the biggest.
Morgan & Morgan,
They've
for the
won
people.
A lot. And Morgan & Morgan is so
They
simple.
sponsoring everyone nowadays? Really? I haven't seen it on a YouTube video like this.
Through your smartphone. They've achieved significant verdicts in the past couple of months for
Alright, bro. Alright, bro.
Be a punishment.
And our people
Let's go back.
to prison.
Prison is already the punishment. Slavery should never be a punishment.
See, I agree with that.
Cotton, are they fighting fires?
Think some of you watch got a sponsor?
I'm just thinking about the
What?
things that are like sometimes here in New York, but all over the country, we have people in all types of jobs. Farm or agriculture is a massive area of prison work. In fact, there's some really crazy reporting right now about sheriffs that are using incarcerated people on their own properties.
Yeah.
Using the people in his jail to like man his own farm.
That's 100% slavery,
So
bro.
we would work anywhere
But-
from 6
But the thing is, can he get arrested for it? Because it's in the Constitution that if you're incarcerated, you can be a slave, pretty much.
to 8
Nah, bro.
hours a day.
Racists will always find a loophole, bro.
Half days now. It was a long day doing very manual labor, doing things like picking
You
potatoes,
can't- yeah, that's
picking
crazy, man.
corn, cutting grass with a hoe.
So who is your equivalent of the master, the prison warden?
Massa.
Who did you serve?
Yeah, we served the field boss. We even called him boss. Very culturally similar to plantation days.
Actually,
And you
trying to
had
get past.
two
Yeah, I
lead
get it now.
hosts, and we would be at the front of the line.
had to
and
show
we
the black
would be
guys lead,
keeping
ho.
things organized. We would be keeping the ladies on.
The fuck you watching? Is we're watching a documentary on how racism still exists in America via the prisons. Rebecca. But yeah, it's actually
quite
interesting.
frankly, sometimes even participating in degrading them.
I spent 27 years in prison. Total, I got $100, I think, because Texas.
27 years, you earned $100.
Texas doesn't pay. Texas.
That's honestly
has maybe
insane.
a few hundred people out of the 140,000 who work in maybe in Lockhart. They got a couple of private firms that do pay individuals for working, but If there's 140,000 people, there's 139,800 whatever thousand that don't get a penny.
I see.
No,
Yeah,
I
that's
never got
crazy.
a penny.
That
I worked
$4 a
13
year,
years
they
in
ain't
school.
no-
I worked as
too
a
shabby.
library clerk.
Come on,
clerk
bro.
in the law library. I worked as a kitchen commissary clerk.
Can he put all those jobs on his resume? Probably not.
I washed pots and pans for 3 months because they got mad at me because I wrote a grievance. It was kind of effective. So they transferred me jobs from my job as a library into the kitchen. None of them did I ever get paid.
Were you obligated to work those jobs? Do you have to work in prison like you did?
If there is a job that needs to be done in Texas prisons, they will find somebody to do it, regardless of their qualifications, give you an order to do it, and if you don't do it,
Yeah, I thought they just made a license plates in prison. I didn't know it was doing all this.
Custody in class, you will end up in solitary, and you may end up with
Really put anything on the resume? Shit, I just need someone to read mine and give me a job.
But I want to do something that's fulfilling, not necessarily spiritually, right, but something that I learned something from, and I think that's most.
They got them boys really
32
working.
degrees or below, we're not working in the fields.
Anything below freezing.
Exactly. So we're at the back gate, and we can hear the officers' radios, and they do these every hour temperature checks on the radio. And we're at the back gate, lined up, cold as hell, ready to go to work. No issued thermals.
Here comes spaceship taking from Mars for us.
Clothes that are thin.
Brother, I saw something where humans can only live a certain amount of years on Mars because of the oxidation there. So I don't know why he's still attempting to go there, brother. It's gonna be a big waste of time.
Air's hitting our skin, and we hear on the radio that it's 31 degrees. And we started cheering.
Gotta go home.
We were really excited to go back in. And I remember the boss, the lieutenant, he looked over at the other boss and said, "I didn't hear anything, did you?" And they rolled that gate, and we came on out here, and we were picking cabbage. It was frozen, and it had been raining, so our boots and bottom of our legs were wet. Our socks were
hell
wet.
no,
They
bro.
issue these little
You gonna have to
cotton
kill
gloves
me.
in the mud.
Just shoot me,
They're not gonna
nigga.
stay on your hand. You finally just have to put the gloves down, and we're just picking cabbage, which the people around me, their lips are blue, snot's running down our faces, and frozen. And I remember feeling ice on my eyelashes, and thinking
At
they
31
really
degrees?
don't give a about us.
Oh,
You brought up
yes.
tampons, and so I need to say, working
Send people to LA so Blast just creates hype so the regular people want to go and then gets even more money. Man, fuck Elon, bruh. Nigga went crazy for no reason.
field is absolutely
Fuck him.
insane when you're on your menstrual cycle. There's no restroom. They have a porta potty that they carry
She's
on the truck
overdoing
on a trailer,
it.
and tractor
I ain't gonna
pulley
lie,
comes
she kind of
around
is.
once every 4
But then again,
hours.
I don't know.
Everybody gets to use it.
She
So I
she
might
said
be
she
on a
was in
squad
prison
with
for 10
35
years.
Other women, they'll say, "Deuce it up, restroom break." We all line up. The trailer's there. I would remember like waving my tampon in the air because you're trying to show the boss like I need to go. Like this is important for me to go.
Hey,
Because I'm
yo.
only gonna pick 5 or
Put
6.
that shit back
But
in,
use
gang.
the 13th
I don't want to
Amendment
see
that
that.
allows for the enslavement of criminals in violation of the 8th Amendment that protects Americans against cruel or unusual punishments.
Ooh,
The
that
13th
is true.
Amendment ended slavery, right? However, there's a clause in there that says, except for someone who's been duly convicted. If you have been convicted in the United States of America, according to the 13th Amendment, you can still be enslaved. So
A lot of people don't realize that. That's the silver lining of the 13th Amendment, right?
Don't teach that in high
realize that
schools.
It was very likely a result of backroom bargaining between
Large corporations, who has vested interests?
Doing this interview in the rain is crazy, by the way.
Lincoln, they wanted the southern states on board, right? But what happened is now these black people who we freed, now we're going to get
They
them
do?
on the street, and we're going to pass
Interesting.
black codes, and we're going to arrest them, and we're going to put
So
them
police
back
them harder, and then we can
And then we-
re-incarcerate them.
and reincarcerate them and use their labor.
Y'all think one of them little niggas is like my ancestors? Anyways,
But now we're not slaves. Now they're prisoners.
Bianca, 1865. Does Lincoln free the slaves?
Yes and no. There were certainly millions of
yes,
people that were
monkey,
freed
bro,
during that
Rebecca,
time.
you're so lucky. I know you're black, bro.
What happened at that
Cause
time
what the
was also
fuck?
that the institution of slavery moved behind prison walls.
There's quite a few organizations out there that go to prison and say, hey, we'll hire some of your people and we'll pay them $1 an hour or whatever, right? And then
A
they'll go out and
dollar
sell
an
those
hour?
goods for whatever
Come
they sell them out
on.
in the free world, right? And then here's the rub. Once I leave prison, Whole Foods won't employ me.
Why won't they employ you?
Because they have restrictions against people who've been incarcerated working for us.
They'll hire you when you're in prison, but you're no longer viable once you're free.
Exactly.
An hour in this economy, bro, you can't get shit, bro.
Right, is 14
Tell me,
cents
you gotta work what 8 hours just to get a meal at
it's
McDonald's?
actually nothing.
Nah.
Majority of states do pay something, but we're talking about pennies. People will work for 2 straight weeks and their checks will be $30,
Okay.
right? And with that,
2 weeks for $30.
themselves in prison.
Come on, bro.
Really, really big common misconception.
Why is this still a thing?
Prison is a free ride. Far from it. The cost of communication, the cost of commissary, of food, of hygiene products,
These niggas hoeing.
medical copays. These are all things
This
that
all
people in
prison
prison
is just
actually
though you have a
pay.
doomsday
In
event for
prison,
fun.
they've
Yeah,
recently
you're yapping.
introduced email,
Let's not do
and
that.
people have to buy stamps to send an email. As if this is like a
Buy stamps to send an email? Nah, bro. They're bullshitting. They're actually bullshitting, bro. Why they need money? They locked up so they can buy shit in there. So because put stuff on their books so they can actually buy shit like snacks and shit, or books, or TVs, PlayStations.
physical
But $1 an hour.
piece of mail that's going like USPS, right? Like we are talking about an email at 50 cents an email.
Is it slavery if they compensate you? And if they compensate you, is there a certain amount that qualifies it as, I guess this is some form of employment by the state?
Minimum
Or is
wage.
Slavery, in your opinion, in the context of imprisonment?
Give them minimum
Slavery
wage, man.
means that you were coerced daily into eating when they tell you to eat, working when they tell you to work, behaving in a way that is conducive to furthering the aims of the institution.
Why was that little window area down below? They couldn't put it like up there. This is an email. I write whole books to people. I don't know, man. They might put a limit on the emails too. Like, all right, bro, only 5 sentences per email. I make the rules.
And if you don't do those things, they can have you beaten, they can have your good time taken away, they can have you thrown in solitary.
Yeah,
Is there an argument that you're working to pay the cost of what the taxpayer is paying to keep you in prison after you've committed, let's say, a heinous crime? Is that a reasonable argument, or do you say hell no?
It's not unreasonable.
Okay.
If I'm a taxpayer and you commit a heinous crime, my first thing is, I don't want you to do it again.
Yeah.
And I want to ensure that person who you committed it on, if it was violent, heals. Or it's a system that I have.
Oh, I used that
If they
machine
wanna
before.
make you work, then okay. But I want you to work or something, or I want you treated in a way that allows you to address whatever trauma or anger, whatever you had. So that
Exactly.
you don't hurt anybody
That's
else.
how
And I
prison
was
should be.
Even now, 40 years later, I have visions of doing some really ugly to these dudes. I understand punishment. I understand the need for.
Hey, man. After getting your booty taken, you can kill anyone you want, bro. I'm just being honest, man. That'll change it, man.
Revenge, the desire for
Whenever
revenge.
you in
But that's not
prison,
gonna help me
what are
heal.
you saying,
Are
bro?
American prisons designed in such a way to rehabilitate criminals, or is it simply a system to
You
punish
would know.
offenders,
My brother went to jail
traumatizing
for a
them
year.
further and increasing the likelihood of them reoffending after they're released? But real quick,
I'd be like, go on down the road, you fuck.
if you want to support our boots on the ground, independent journalism that is not bought and paid for by corporate interests, assault and
Hey, man.
Oliveira for less than $5.
Y'all go do that $5 a month. For what? I ain't gonna say.
The threat in a female prison for sexual violence is from staff, not from each other.
Different dynamic there a bit.
I think 100%. We had to be wary of who was working. We had to pay attention. If we knew the officers that would creep around the shower area or come around
yeah.
at night, and you knew who not to get into a private nook with.
I thought in the lady prison they only had female officers. I didn't know they had males too, and that's kind of weird, ain't it?
Or not to make eye contact with. The Prison Rape Elimination Act that's supposed to offer protection, I guess, for incarceration.
Prison Rape Elimination Act.
You need to act just so
implement
that doesn't happen to them.
absolutely.
That's
Very
insane.
Day one, you're fighting people multiple times. How does it evolve? Do you get some respect eventually, or is it just fighting nonstop until you build an alliance with someone?
The violence is usually early on, and it's again to see what you're going to do.
Nigga, is this Hancock footage? I know they ain't pull footage up from Hancock. Oh hell no, bro.
Whether you're weak, whether you're going to be.
This is Lady Hancock.
If you get with a gang or with a clique or with whatever, right? Then it may be a little different because at that point the gangs may be called out as a group to do some stuff.
I'm
Right?
gonna watch
I
Orange
would
is New
fight, I
Black.
would jump on
I
you
think I watched that
and look
one
at
episode. That's
you.
about
What
it.
you looking at?
Did you ever
I ain't
end up
gonna
in
lie.
solitary confinement?
I'm a disruptor out here, and I was a disruptor in there, and I ended up in solitary confinement lots of times.
Damn, girl.
The first time I went to solitary was for hugging. There was a lady
Hugging?
that was crying over her mail. She was sitting in the floor,
Hugging?
and I kind of bent down and hugged the top of her shoulders, and they saw it on camera. They came and got me. It was like the SWAT team coming in. Yeah.
Hugging and you're in solitary confinement? Come on, bruh. The punishment for a sexual crime to be they new to you, and if you murder someone, they amputate your hand. See, well that violates the 8th Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment. So,
Yeah, handcuffed me, marched me to solitary. I was there for 2 months.
2 months.
2 months for hugging.
That's enough time to have permanent psychological damage, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was wild in there. Nothing to do but like read graffiti on the wall, which is, and those cells were hugely.
They making Mr. Beast
disgustingly
videos look like
dirty.
child play.
Sometimes you would see blood or even feces like on the walls.
Solitary confinement.
Oh, hell
It's
no.
very commonly referred to in the prison.
You know,
prison
maybe unless
system
you write
by
the
people
entire
who've done
government.
time as
Hey
the
man,
hole in the
with that orange thing office, that shit is gonna get
back to
rewritten.
antebellum slavery.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
The hole was a literal hole that enslaved people were put in if they disobeyed the rules of their enslaver.
Got it.
Right? No food, darkness, heat. Similarly, the hot box.
I mean,
was the same
Alexander
thing, it was a
Hamilton,
box.
okay, buddy.
These are the terms that then migrated into the system and many don't even know are related to antebellum slavery.
The field work you guys are doing loses money, but it still happens. Is the goal just to break your spirit and your will, and when you leave prison, to feel like a piece of shit? What is the goal?
Wait, so they don't even gain any financial benefit for them being in the fields? They just do this shit for the love of the game? Nah, that's crazy.
This is a really punitive
Got
state.
summers they look like them. But didn't you say working in the fields would be a vibe though?
People won't come back. But
Does it work?
Oh, it absolutely does not work, right? Because people are here because they have done something that probably, especially women, resulted of trauma, and they have to work through that and heal, or they're going to get out and still not know how to handle their emotions and handle what they've been through.
Exactly why prison needs to be a reform
And they end up back
instead
in
of a
prison,
punishment.
and our recidivism rates show that.
Do you think 10 years helped you more than 1 year or 2 years or 5 years in prison would have helped you understand you did a bad thing and you need to stop doing that? Or
I think that after about 12 months inside, I really immersed myself into the prison life. After a year, any thoughts of good things were gone. So no, I think that it doesn't matter. I think that
Glad she turned her life
are going to
around.
survive where they're at. They're going to change to be able to survive. I was the worst version of myself while I was incarcerated.
The American prison system is set up to humiliate, degrade, punish, and minimize. The American prison system is full of individuals who are in fact.
You saying what she
used
did?
as free-
Yeah, she stole $300,000 from her company. $300,000. 300,000. 300K. She deserves to be locked up. Hey, bro, she did her 10 years.
labor for corporations, for companies, for the state. The Texas prison system, as an example, they have 140,000 people there. The guards turn the keys, hand out the mail, count, maybe drive the buses.
Let me drive the
Everything
bus.
is done by incarcerated individuals, right?
all right, the prisoners run the prison.
Again, we're sitting in the city of New York. It costs us over $500,000 a year to incarcerate one person on Rikers Island.
$500,000 for one person? Why? What are you spending on someone in jail?
100K.
Do you know what we could do with $500K?
Do they want you to end back up?
What
in
the
prison
fuck?
system?
Wait.
Do they want you to live a happy,
How many
fruitful, bountiful
people
life after prison? Is the
are
goal to say you have
in
success
Rikers?
afterwards?
I think that may be the
7,000 people are in
I don't think
Rikers.
that there is a huge universe of individuals who are plotting.
Wait, the
to
average
show
daily
them
population on the island is
go
around
back to the
10,000.
cage. I don't think that exists. But
So,
politicians have done a good job at demonizing
10,000 times 500,000.
They cannot be trusted around your kids. Most prison.
That's 5 billion. I just did 10,000. It said on daily average is 10,000, max capacity 15,000. So you multiply that times 500,000. That's $5 billion a year on one prison. Insane, bro. Is he getting a VIP transport? Shit, main party type? I don't know, bro. That nigga's. I don't know what they getting at Rikers.
One psychologist, if that. They don't have
$5 billion a year is crazy.
If you've
Is
been
it 700? No, I said 7,000, then 10,000.
and dehumanized for 10, 12, 14 years, and you get out there, you expected just to walk on the side, you feel useless, you feel worthless. You got 20, 25, 30% of the people who are in jails and prisons have severe mental health issues. It's not helped by being in
Facts.
jail. Which means that I don't believe that putting someone in a cage, a literal cage, where they're subject to rape, to kill each other, without access to meaningful health, with incredibly deficient way to meet your whatever nutritional needs, all that. In other words, deprivation. I don't think that helps.
Torture.
All that. I don't think none of that helps. If what you want to do is subject them to the most violent brutality you want, then say it. And don't say that what you want is people to be chained and rehabilitated. Me, as someone who put a pistol to somebody's head.
How do you appeal to someone who maybe doesn't even care
You did
about
what?
his people, but wants a better system, better functioning society? How would you redesign the prison system?
Well, I'm not sure I would redesign the prison system. I think this system that we have has no redeeming qualities. Zero. And
Zero.
I think we need to like reimagine.
Oh man, crazy. Old man been through some shit, bro. He got his butt taken.
Address harm in our
Once you get your butt taken, it's justified to be crazy.
We're suing for air conditioning, so that's a big one, is stop cooking people alive. People are dying every summer. Texas A&M did a report that showed some cells at 140 degrees in the summer, and I've seen people die from the heat, and I've seen
140 degrees? What the no wonder. Alright, bro. Yeah,
officers
anyways.
fall out from the heat, so that's probably like the immediate
140 degrees? Why do they not have AC? Like, what's the point of not having AC?
Where inequity is crushed,
Sure.
where people feel fulfilled, purpose-driven, and loved, feel connected to the communities and the land that they're on.
Saying like it happened to you? I'm not, bro. Y'all are weird. Y'all are so weird. That's some weirdos, bro.
Likely to cause you harm because I have everything
My
I need
butt
because
is
I'm
safe.
connected to you as a person. But should I ever cause you harm, that we have the tools between us and in a system to address that harm in a way that doesn't cause or reproduce more harm. Because this system is not producing safety. If
Anyways, we gotta stop talking about that.
incarceration produced safety, then the U.S. should be the safest place on the planet. To me, it's like all these root causes, right? And one of them is addressing the exception in the 13th Amendment.
What was I say? Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States, any place subject to their jurisdiction. Yeah, that's crazy.
At what point do you stop getting second chances?
I don't think any human, I don't care what you do, deserves to be enslaved.
We do not need details because
You are
nothing happened.
anti-slavery regardless of the worst crimes possible you can commit.
Yes, but I also want
That's
to
fair.
say some of these people who, because of decisions
Got
made
it.
at a very high level, way distance from the tens of thousands of people who may get killed or poisoned, right, because of some of the stuff that they do. Don't
Yeah.
be charged with
I
it.
think
would
a finger
see
was
that
direct
point
on
when
that
someone
trigger.
gets out and kills maybe a group of 5.
Yeah, poisoning the food, poisoning the water, destroying the environment.
None of them ever went to jail. None of them ever went to prison. Should they have? In my view, no. I don't think anybody should be in prison.
No one should be sent to prison.
Hmm?
No one.
I'm an abolitionist.
All right, bro. I was looking up until then. What the fuck? Yeah, this nigga's just lying, bro.
No.
What
should they do?
I'm not saying I don't believe in some sort of separation for some folks. A lot of time it takes resources, and it takes time, and it takes a willingness to fail. And I understand that given an infinite
Guess you
supply,
were lying.
and an infinite, maybe a watch, maybe sort of regulation on the movement. I don't know. So I have to come down on the side of some sort of separation that is not punitive in nature. You need to find a way to allow individuals who are leaving prison to have kind of a ceremony of return and say, you have, quote unquote, paid your debt to society. Go on there, sign up, and say that you do not believe that we should enslave anybody.
Jorge, you're the man, dude.
I agree with
Thanks
that.
so much for your time.
You can hit me up on my
Syndromes
Linktree.
and front lines in the Middle East. Okay, bro. Why are we? What are we doing?
First thing is, obviously, follow us on all the social platforms. Worth Rises
No.
on
No, I'm
different
kidding.
platforms, as well as End the Exception on Instagram. You can also visit us on our website at worthrises.org to set up on the newsletter or to donate.
You don't agree with the old man? You talking about the last part when we saying like no one should go to jail? 'Cause I don't agree with that either.
13th Amendment. Visit endtheexception.com to take action.
You support whatever you want to support, but full disclosure, I do endorse the enslavement and murder of certain heinous criminals.
Oh.
I do not believe that every criminal can or wants to be rehabilitated into society. Some people are simply menaces to society. But largely, if we zoomed out and created a more rehabilitative prison system rather than one focused on punishment, I think the criminals that leave prison will go on to commit less crimes and fit into society better.
This is Snake Island.
Hey. On this video.
This is the United...
But what he said at the end, I 100% agree with. You shouldn't enslave niggas for doing petty theft for no, like come on, bro. There's no need for that. And yeah, prisons now are strictly for punishment, but back in the day, they used to be a reform, which they need to get back to, man. Like, they would just use the prisons as like a somewhat of a psych ward / therapy thing. Just rehabilitate them so they can get back into society. So, you know what I'm saying? Then, yeah. So I agree with this nigga. That was my first video watching. You earned a subscriber, man.